Senate Bill 299 is a seriously flawed piece of legislation that we should vote against. The argument that is made is that district judges are the only ones that have to do petitions, other judges don't, and it's a safety hazard. Mr. Speaker, there's very, very many reasons why that's a very flawed argument. If you think about it, how are other judges reelected? When you look at a Supreme Court justice, when their term is almost up, they don't run in a primary, they run in a retention election. Yes or no? Should this Supreme Court justice have another 10-year term? Yes or no? Same thing with Commonwealth Court, same thing with Superior Court, same thing with the Court of Common Pleas. They have retention elections. District judges do not have retention elections. They run in the primary, then they run in the general election, just like legislators, just like the governor, just like school board members, just like most other elected offices. The purpose of petitions, Mr. Speaker, is to get your name on a primary ballot. So anybody that wants to be in the primary needs to do petitions. Other levels of judges don't run in primaries. That's why they don't do petitions. So the whole argument that it's unfair that district judges have to do petitions is a flawed argument, because when you do petitions, you're saying, I want my name on the primary ballot. So if you want your name on the primary ballot, you have to do petitions. That's how it works. Another argument that makes this a seriously flawed piece of legislation is that somehow district judges face a lot of serious risk when they're out doing their petitions. But Mr. Speaker, so does everyone else. If you think about it, district attorneys would still have to do petitions under this legislation. The county sheriff would still have to do petitions. The clerk of courts would still have to do petitions. If safety is an issue, we should be saying that nobody has to do petitions, not just the district judges. Mr. Speaker, I want to bring up another issue too, and that is on what is fair in an election. Normally, when you have a fair election, all of the candidates have to do the same thing. And under Senate Bill 299, it basically says that if you're the incumbent, you don't have to do as many things as if you're the challenger. And that doesn't seem right, Mr. Speaker. When you think about it, when any other office is up for re-election and they're going to be in a primary, all the candidates have to do the same thing. It doesn't matter if you're the incumbent or the challenger. You all have to fill out the same paperwork, the same ethics form, the same number of petitions, the candidate affidavit, all the things you have to do to run for office and have your name on the primary ballot. Everybody has to do the same thing. Under this legislation, it basically says if you're running against an incumbent district judge, you have to do more things than the incumbent has to do. That seems to be a violation of the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. I mean, Article 1, Section 5 does call for free and fair elections. In our system, Mr. Speaker, we can't say one candidate has to do this, this, and this, and the other candidate only has to do this and that. And I feel, Mr. Speaker, that this legislation, if we pass it, would be a violation of the Pennsylvania Constitution. In final words, I just want to say, I want to ask the members to just really think about something. If this legislation said the incumbent does not have to pay the filing fee to have their name on the ballot, but the challenger has to pay the filing fee to have their name on the ballot, most of us would think that's unfair. If this legislation said the incumbent does not have to complete a statement of financial interest, but the challenger does, most of us would think that's not fair. If this legislation said the incumbent does not have to fill out a candidate affidavit form, but the challenger does, most of us would think this is unfair. What this legislation does, it says the incumbent does not have to do petitions, but the challenger does have to do petitions. Mr. Speaker, that's not fair, and I would urge a no vote on the legislation. Thank you.